The question is whether there is a requirement in the National Electrical Code mandating the use of bushing caps on Romex connectors. After careful examination of the National Electrical Code, the answer is no. There is no explicit requirement within the National Electrical Code that necessitates the installation of bushing caps on Romex connectors, also known as non-metallic sheathed cable connectors. Let's delve deeper into the reasoning and explore the pertinent sections of the National Electrical Code that support this conclusion. Firstly, it is important to understand the purpose of a connector. Connectors are designed to secure the cable to an electrical box or enclosure, providing strain relief and protecting the cable from abrasion. Secondly, let's consider the function of a bushing. Bushings are typically used to provide a smooth rounded surface where conductors enter or exit an enclosure, preventing damage to the insulation. The National Electrical Code aims to ensure electrical safety through a comprehensive set of regulations governing electrical installations. These regulations cover various aspects, including wiring methods, overcurrent protection, grounding, and equipment installation. However, not every specific detail of an installation is explicitly addressed in the code. Instead, the National Electrical Code focuses on establishing general requirements and performance standards that, when followed, result in a safe and reliable electrical system. Several sections of the National Electrical Code pertain to the installation of non-metallic sheathed cable, commonly known as Romex. These sections outline the requirements for supporting, securing, and protecting the cable. For instance, Section 334.30 addresses securing and supporting non-metallic sheathed cable. It states that non-metallic sheathed cable must be secured to the building structure in such a manner that the cable will not be damaged. This section provides specific requirements for the spacing of support and the methods of securing the cable. Similarly, Section 314.17c discusses the methods for entering boxes and fittings. This section specifies that when non-metallic sheathed cable enters a box or fitting, it must be protected from abrasion and securely fastened. The connector used must be listed and identified for the purpose. When examining these and other relevant sections of the National Electrical Code, one finds no explicit mention of a requirement for bushing caps on Romex connectors. The code emphasizes the need for protecting the cable from damage and ensuring a secure connection, but it does not mandate the use of a specific type of connector or accessory, such as a bushing cap, to achieve this. The absence of a specific requirement for bushing caps does not mean that they are prohibited or unnecessary. In certain situations, the use of a bushing cap may be a prudent measure to provide additional protection for the cable. For example, if the edge of the knockout in the electrical box is particularly sharp or rough, a bushing cap can help prevent abrasion of the cable insulation. Additionally, some installers may prefer to use bushing caps as a matter of personal preference or company policy. However, these are not requirements dictated by the National Electrical Code. It is also important to consider the listing and labeling requirements for electrical equipment. Section 110.3b of the National Electrical Code requires that listed or labeled equipment be installed and used in accordance with any instructions included in the listing or labeling. This means that if a particular Romex connector is listed for use with a bushing cap, then the bushing cap must be installed as part of the approved installation. However, if the connector is not specifically listed for use with a bushing cap, then the National Electrical Code does not require it. To further clarify the issue, it is helpful to consult the product standards and testing requirements for Romex connectors. Underwriters Laboratories, commonly known as UL, is a recognized testing laboratory that develops standards for electrical products. UL Standard 514B covers fittings for conduit and outlet boxes. This standard includes requirements for Romex connectors, but it does not mandate the use of bushing caps. Connectors that meet the requirements of UL Standard 514B are considered suitable for use with Romex cable, regardless of whether they include a bushing cap. The National Electrical Code is updated every 3 years, and each edition incorporates revisions and additions based on industry experience and technological advancements. It is possible that future editions of the National Electrical Code may include new requirements related to Romex connectors and bushing caps. Therefore, it is essential to stay informed about the latest edition of the National Electrical Code and any applicable local amendments. In summary, while the National Electrical Code does not explicitly require the use of bushing caps on Romex connectors, it does emphasize the importance of protecting the cable from damage and ensuring a secure connection. Installers should carefully inspect the installation conditions and use their professional judgment to determine whether a bushing cap is necessary or beneficial in a particular situation. If the connector is listed for use with a bushing cap, then the bushing cap must be installed in accordance with the listing requirements. Otherwise, the decision to use a bushing cap is left to the discretion of the installer. Always adhere to the latest edition of the National Electrical Code in any applicable local amendments to ensure a safe and code-compliant electrical installation. Furthermore, consider the specific instructions provided by the manufacturer of the Romex connectors. Manufacturers often provide detailed installation guidelines that may include recommendations or requirements for the use of accessories such as bushing caps. These instructions should be followed carefully to ensure proper installation and performance of the connectors. It is also important to know that some local jurisdictions may have additional requirements or interpretations of the National Electrical Code that are more stringent than the national standard. These local amendments can vary from one city or county to another, so it is essential to check with the local electrical inspector or building department to determine if there are any specific requirements for Romex connectors and bushing caps in your area. In addition to the technical aspects of the National Electrical Code, it is also important to consider the practical implications of using bushing caps. While they may not be required by code, bushing caps can provide several benefits in certain situations. Firstly, they can help to protect the cable insulation from abrasion, especially in cases where the knockout in the electrical box has a sharp or rough edge. This can prolong the life of the cable and reduce the risk of electrical shorts or other problems. Secondly, bushing caps can provide a more secure and professional-looking installation. They can help to prevent the cable from being pulled out of the connector and can also improve the overall appearance of the wiring. Thirdly, bushing caps can be relatively inexpensive and easy to install, making them a worthwhile investment in many cases. However, there are also some potential drawbacks to using bushing caps. Firstly, they can add to the cost of the installation, although the cost is typically minimal. Secondly, they can make it more difficult to install the cable in the connector, especially in tight spaces. Thirdly, they may not be necessary in all situations, especially if the knockout in the electrical box is smooth and the cable is properly secured. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to use bushing caps on Romex connectors is a matter of professional judgment, taking into account the specific installation conditions, the manufacturer's instructions, and any applicable local requirements. While the National Electrical Code does not mandate their use, they can be a valuable addition to an electrical installation in certain circumstances. It is also worth noting that there are different types of Romex connectors available, some of which include built-in bushings or other features that provide additional protection for the cable. These connectors may eliminate the need for separate bushing caps depending on the specific design and installation conditions. When selecting Romex connectors, it is important to consider the type of cable being used, the size of the knockout in the electrical box, and the overall requirements of the installation. Choose connectors that are listed for use with the specific type of cable and that provide adequate protection and strain relief. In conclusion, the National Electrical Code does not explicitly require the use of bushing caps on Romex connectors. However, the code does emphasize the importance of protecting the cable from damage and ensuring a secure connection. Installers should carefully consider the specific installation conditions and use their professional judgment to determine whether a bushing cap is necessary or beneficial. Always adhere to the latest edition of the National Electrical Code, any applicable local amendments, and the manufacturer's instructions to ensure a safe and code-compliant electrical installation. By understanding the relevant sections of the National Electrical Code and considering the practical implications of using bushing caps, electricians can make informed decisions about the best way to install Romex cable and ensure the safety and reliability of the electrical system. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is essential to follow all safety precautions and best practices to avoid injury or damage. If you are not qualified to perform electrical work, it is best to hire a licensed electrician to do the job. They have the knowledge, skills, and experience to ensure that the electrical installation is safe, code compliant, and reliable. The National Electrical Code serves as a cornerstone for electrical safety in the United States, offering guidelines and regulations that minimize hazards associated with electrical installations. While it doesn't mandate bushing caps for Romex connectors, it underscores the broader principle of protecting cables from damage and ensuring secure connections. This principle is reflected in various sections of the code, such as Section 334.30, which focuses on securing and supporting non-metallic sheath cables. The code mandates that these cables be supported to prevent damage, setting specific requirements for support intervals and securing methods. Further emphasizing the importance of protection is Section 314.17c, which addresses how cables enter boxes and fittings. It stipulates that non-metallic sheathed cables must be shielded from abrasion and firmly fastened when entering a box or fitting. The connectors used must be listed, ensuring they meet established safety and performance standards. These code sections collectively highlight the NEC overarching goal to safeguard electrical systems by preventing physical damage to cables, which can lead to insulation breakdown, short circuits, and potential fire hazards. The NEC also addresses the installation and use of listed and labeled equipment in Section 110.3b. This section mandates that listed or labeled equipment be installed and used according to any instructions included in the listing or labeling. For Romex connectors, this means that if a connector is listed for use with a bushing cap, then the bushing cap must be installed as part of the approved installation. However, if the connector is not specifically listed for use with a bushing cap, then the NEC does not require it. This requirement ensures that electrical equipment is installed and used in a manner that is consistent with its intended design and purpose. The NEC guidelines are based on the findings of organizations like Underwriters Laboratories Incorporated, also known as UL. UL develops standards that electrical products must meet to be considered safe for their intended use. UL Standard 514B, which covers fittings for conduit and outlet boxes, includes requirements for Romex connectors but doesn't require bushing caps. Connectors that meet UL 514B are considered suitable for use with Romex cable with or without bushing caps. As the NEC evolves every 3 years, it's essential to stay updated on the latest edition and any local amendments. These updates incorporate industry experience and technological advancements, potentially introducing new requirements related to Romex connectors and bushing caps. Keeping abreast of these changes ensures compliance and promotes the highest standards of electrical safety. Although the NEC doesn't explicitly require bushing caps, they can be a prudent addition, particularly when the knockout in an electrical box has a sharp edge. Bushing caps can also provide a more secure connection and a more professional appearance. Ultimately, the decision to use bushing caps is a judgment call, based on the specific installation conditions and the installer's preferences. Local jurisdictions may also have additional requirements or interpretations of the NEC that are more stringent than the national standard. These local amendments can vary, so it is essential to check with the local electrical inspector or building department to determine if there are any specific requirements for Romex connectors and bushing caps in your area. Considering the practical benefits of using bushing caps, they can protect cable insulation from abrasion, prolonging the cable's lifespan and reducing the risk of electrical shorts. They can also enhance the security and aesthetics of the installation. While bushing caps may add to the installation cost, they are generally inexpensive and easy to install, making them a worthwhile investment. However, it's important to acknowledge the potential drawbacks of using bushing caps. They may complicate cable installation, especially in confined spaces, and may not be necessary in every situation. Weighing these factors and exercising professional judgment is key to making the right decision for each installation. The market offers various Romex connectors, some featuring built-in bushings or other protective elements. These connectors may eliminate the need for separate bushing caps depending on the specific design and installation. When selecting Romex connectors, consider the cable type, knockout size, and overall installation needs. Opt for connectors listed for the cable type and providing ample protection and strain relief. In conclusion, while the NEC doesn't mandate bushing caps for Romex connectors, it emphasizes protection and secure connections. Installers should carefully assess the installation conditions, consult the NEC and local amendments, and follow manufacturer's instructions. By understanding the code and applying sound judgment, electricians can ensure safe and reliable electrical installations. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity, and if you're not qualified, hire a licensed electrician to handle the task. The insights presented here are for informational purposes only and don't constitute professional electrical advice. Always consult with a licensed electrician or qualified professional for specific guidance on your electrical projects. Staying informed and prioritizing safety are paramount when working with electricity.